son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Spider-Man Far From Home, the 2019 MCU movie that I enjoyed immensely. Now here's the thing, when I saw Captain Marvel, I enjoyed that movie, but one of the problems I had with it was it felt like such a come down from Infinity War, and I was worried when I went and saw this movie that it would have a similar effect after the epic story that was Avengers Endgame. But personally, I really enjoyed this movie, both as a follow-up to Endgame and as a movie on its own. Because one, I thought it was really cool the way they handled some of the things coming out of Endgame, which I'm not going to go into because I don't want to spoil anything. But I also really thought that this movie was effective because it was so much fun. Like, Endgame had its fun moments, but it was obviously a much more intense story. Whereas this movie has so many fun elements, and so much of that has to do with Tom Holland's performance as Spider-Man. I mean, I think that guy, yet again, proves that he is by far the best actor to ever play the character, because man, he pulls off all of the emotion of the character. Like, you could really feel like the fact that he just wants to be a kid in this movie, which I thought was a brilliant follow-up to Homecoming, where he spends the entire movie wanting to prove that he's one of the big boys, he wants to become an Avenger, whereas in this movie, all he wants to do is to leave the superhero stuff behind him for at least one great trip and just be a kid and have fun, just like all of his peers. So to see him like flip-flop like that, I thought, I mean, really great idea by the people who wrote this. And Holland completely pulls it off. You can really feel every time he gets pulled back into being a superhero, like his reluctance to get involved. And even though he absolutely wants to do the right thing, and there's definitely some scenes where he has a lot of fun with the contraption that he gets in this movie. I mean, it really worked the way they wrote his character. And Holland, I mean, he seems like he was born to play this character, because he absolutely gets the emotional weight of what it's like to be a superhero and feel that responsibility, and like the whole with great power comes great. Apparently I can't speak. With great power comes great responsibility line. That's the tagline for Spider-Man for a reason. So to see him feel weighted down by that responsibility was great, but at the same time, like his energy and how likable he is, just, I mean, absolutely works for this character. And one of the things I thought was great too was the way they introduced Mysterio, which having him their interactions with him and Spider-Man, like the cool uncle kind of character, where he seems to really empathize with all the things that Spider-Man's going throughout the first half of this movie, and like really be able to understand and give Spider-Man the break that he wants from Nick Fury and Maria Hill, where they expect so much out of him, whereas Mysterio is just like, you look, kid, I get it, man, like all that, like, so to have him like introduced that way, only to, again, spoilers, but to flip, and really, is it a spoiler? Because if you know anything about Mysterio before you see this movie, you should see the flip coming a mile away, where, shocker of shockers, he's actually a villain. And again, this one actually could be a spoiler. It's more of a spoiler than the idea that Mysterio is a villain. But so keep that in mind. But the elementals are not real, and he's conjured them with special effects. So when you see that coming, even though you see it coming a mile away, but when you see it happening, because Mysterio and Spider-Man up until that point, they have this relationship that, even though you know the entire time it's not real, it feels kind of real. So it's kind of heartbreaking to see him flip on Spidey like that, especially once Spider-Man finds out. And one of the things I really enjoyed was when Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio comes to the conclusion that he's going to have to battle Spider-Man and take him out. The fact that he's not relishing that, like his motivation in this movie, I thought was pretty well handled, and I'm not going to go into that at all. But the fact that he doesn't relish the idea of having to take out Spider-Man, I thought was really well handled. I really liked Mysterio overall. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal just kills it in this. I mean, he's one of my favorite actors for sure. Ever since I saw Nightcrawler and Donnie Darko, Nightcrawler is my favorite performance of his by far. But I really, really dug him in this. I mean, he's such a charismatic guy. So to see him in a role like Mysterio, I mean, you could, to me, you could not have cast that character better. And that's the other thing about Mysterio. So knowing the character from the comic books and from the cartoons and all that, I was really, really interested to see how they were going to handle the character, because you have to make him a threat. He was this movie's main villain, but as a comic fan, and you know that it's all illusion, but the way they handled his battle, especially his first battle with Spider-Man, after Spider-Man first takes him on in a building, I mean, I thought that scene was amazing. Like, you really as an audience member felt disoriented, just like Spider-Man would in that sequence. By far one of the best moments in this movie. And spoiler alert again, for Endgame and for this movie, and more for Endgame, I guess. But like the way that they deal with Tony in one of the Iron Man, in one of the sequences with Mysterio, where you see like him, like a zombie version of him, like this Marvel zombies, I thought was really, really cool. As a big Marvel fan and a big horror fan, and especially a zombie movie fan, I thought that was a lot of fun to see. And then you had all the other characters that Spider-Man has a relationship with, which were really great. Like MJ and his relationship, the way they built that up. Like this movie, there's like half of it that's a superhero movie, and half of it's just a typical teen movie. That if they just had done like the teen movie without any of the Spider-Man stuff, would have been compelling on its own. Like the way that they set up their relationship and the love triangle where the Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, I guess in this case, has a love interest, and there's another boy that seems to be attracted to her, and he's questioning whether or not MJ actually likes him, and the whole situation between the two of them, I thought was handled exceptionally well, especially the big reveal that happens when he goes to try to tell her his feelings. Did not see that coming, even though it was in the trailer. Somehow I completely forgot that line is in there. I was like, wow, oh yeah, that's right. I thought it was really great. And Ned is back, and I thought it was really entertaining seeing his relationship with Betty Brant, which is a character of great importance in the comics. I mean, not huge importance, but with a long history at the very least in the comics. So to see them, I thought it was very entertaining, and they, like, you know, it's the supper relationship really, really handled with care, and like I really enjoyed their interplay where they were Betty and Ned were always on the same page, even at the end of the movie where they. Yeah, I just the whole thing I thought was really great. And on a side note with Betty's character, the way that the movie opens with a tribute to the Avengers that have fallen. Like, I'm watching it and being like, there's no way that Peter Parker would have created this video so poorly and so without, like, it feels so like superficial, like at the reveal that it's the high school's prom, like not prom, sorry, the high school's video at the beginning of the day tribute. I thought that was a really great reveal, and just like the entire class being on vacation. Flash Thompson was the one thing. In Homecoming, I didn't really love Flash Thompson's character, but in this movie, he's used very, very sparingly, and I was surprised how much I actually was like, man, I could really do with some more Flash in this movie. And like the few scenes where he's involved, like his admiration for Spider-Man just fits perfectly with the comics, and then with him being a jerk, 1 second being like, oh, I want to be like Spider-Man, the next second being a complete jerk, was really, really funny. And then you had the two teachers played by Martin Starr and the principal played by J.B. Smoove. Like all their sequences were super entertaining, and you could tell those two actors seemed to be having a lot of fun playing their characters, and I mean, perfectly casted. And it makes sense that the characters seem to have been written for the actors. So I thought that was great. And Nick, like I said earlier, you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill in this, and I thought it was really, really interesting seeing a character like Spider-Man interacting with these two super serious characters, and the way those characters are written, where there are some of the scenes where you're watching them and you're like, that seems a little bit out of character. I thought that whole thing was handled very, very well. And the one thing I thought at first I felt like a little bit off about was having Happy Hogan and Aunt May hinting at a bit of a romance. But overall, that whole aspect of the movie worked for me. I mean, there was very little Aunt May in this movie, which I again found a little bit surprising. And I wouldn't say I was disappointed by it, but it just feels a bit off because she's such a major character in the comics. But I mean, for the story of the movie, it makes perfect sense, and the awkwardness between her and Happy was pretty entertaining. And then at the end, where Happy comes and his interactions with Peter and like talking to him about Tony, I thought those scenes were quite emotional and handled with great care. And I just overall, I mean, honestly, I really loved this movie a lot. So those are my thoughts on it. I know that this movie isn't loved by everybody, but it just really worked for me. So other than that, let me know in the comment section below what you think and if you loved it, whatever, excuse me. And other than that, have yourself a good day.